Hello everybody! Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different for my channel, and my kitty also wants to be involved today. Yeah, so I'm going to do a brief overview of all of the tarot decks that I own, and maybe if you were looking to buy one for yourself, or buy one as a gift for somebody else. I know a lot of people think that you're not allowed to buy yourself your first tarot deck, but I totally disagree. You 100% can buy yourself your first tarot deck. I actually bought myself my first tarot deck over 5 years ago, and the first deck that I own, you can tell it's very well loved. It's been a lot of places. I don't even have the sleeve for it anymore, but it's called the Wild Unknown Tarot. Yeah, look how creased it is. But this is a beautiful tarot card deck. I would 100% recommend this deck to anyone. I will admit that I feel it's quite harsh. I think that out of all of my tarot decks, it's either the most harsh or the second most harsh deck that I own. It has really good information and is extremely well written. Almost every one of the descriptions for the cards is like a poem. So you do have to decipher it a bit. So, I mean, it was a beginner deck for me, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the most beginner deck that I have. It's not completely written out and explaining exactly what the card typically means. It just kind of has its own spin, and I'll show you a little bit of what the cards actually look like. They're very bold, and they play a lot with black and white and rainbow, which is a way that you can read these cards. So I think that you can tell, like, the death card is very scary. I've had clients be very afraid of this death card. So it can be a bit frightening, this deck, and it can also be really special and amazing and tell you that you're connecting to everybody. Like, the Lover's card is super beautiful and rainbow, and so it has both sides. It has a duality to it. I definitely love the Wild Unknown, anything made by them, because I also have the Archetypes. I have written down here what each deck costs, and this costs $25.49 on Amazon. I'm going to be getting all but one of the prices from Amazon, and it is one of the more expensive decks listed that I have. One of the more expensive decks that I have, but I fully think that it is worth the value, and I definitely think it would make for a wonderful gift. Another way to read those cards is if you know a lot about animal symbolism, then you would find a really easy time reading these cards because it has a lot of animals in it, and I think that that's why I was really drawn to it. I'm going to move on to the Archetypes deck that's also Wild Unknown. This deck is awesome. I love that they are circular cards. I think that's really interesting. See how it has a sleeve? The other Wild Unknown also used to have a sleeve, but like I said, I lost it. And I just really like how both of those open, how they have this kind of magnetized. So it's definitely more of both of them are decks that I would keep at home, not something I would travel with. I have traveled with them, but they do take up quite a bit of room. So it's something more I'd like to keep at home. But like I said, this Archetypes deck The cards are circular. I will admit that I don't particularly like the back of the cards. I don't think that they're that special or interesting, but the actual cards themselves are really interesting because they have like almost like cutouts of magazines on them, which is different than the the Wild Unknown tarot deck that I just showed. It is in like a different art style, and I just find it interesting how you read these based on the turn of the card, based on if they're going horizontally, upright, or slightly diagonal. I think it's interesting that there's nuance there. And because there is so much nuance there, and because what is in the guidebook is some really deep things that you don't typically talk about, I think that are even a step above tarot. I think that this is not a beginner deck whatsoever. I definitely think this would be a great deck if you, first of all, if you have the Wild Unknown Tarot, that it would be a wonderful deck to go along with it. Second of all, it does use the same sort of like white and black and color, rainbow colors, so you can definitely read it based off of color and also, yet again, symbolism. I think that both of those are deeply rooted in actual picture symbolism, so you can get a lot from the pictures from the cards, which I love that about these decks. And yeah, like I said, I just don't think that this is a beginner friendly deck. It would be wonderful if you already have quite a few tarot and oracle card decks. If you have been reading tarot for maybe 1 to 2 years, I think that it would be a good deck for you to purchase. But I would definitely recommend getting a different tarot deck for your first deck and then moving on to something like that. I feel as though the Archetypes deck is more of a supplementary deck. I would never do a full reading, yet it adds so much nuance to a reading because it does talk about subjects and themes that are not common in many other tarot decks and many other oracle decks. So I do think that the Archetypes deck is extremely useful for a seasoned tarot card reader. Okay, and moving on to the Light Seers tarot deck, I do believe that this tarot deck is up there with one of my favorite decks that I own. Probably one of my favorite things about this deck, as you saw me opening it, is that it is so compact. The book is so small. This is the best deck I have to travel with to do a full reading on someone. You can 100% get a full reading out of just this deck alone. I believe you can also get a full reading with just the Wild Unknown Tarot as well. And like I said, I feel the Archetypes is definitely like supplemental. But this Light Seers deck, first of all, I love the art in it. I think it really shows, like you can see animal symbolism coming in again. The lion is about strength. You know, we have this single torch lit here. It's like kind of going your own way. You can kind of see what the card is about just based on the colors and what is happening in the card, the facial expressions of the people in the card. I just love, like you can just tell just by me fanning it out, there is so much color in these, and I just really like there's so many different types of faces. I feel like they did a really good job at expressing quite a few different cultures and ethnicities within this deck. I just really, really, really love this deck. I think it's funny that the reason that I got this deck is because I was in a witchcraft group on Facebook, and they were talking about how this deck is so basic and only basic tarot card readers would get this deck. And I did some more research about it. I looked at the art and I saw some of the pages and I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. I don't think that this is a basic deck at all. I think that it has a lot of beautiful words in it. And one thing that I really like about this deck is that, as you can see, it has some themes where it'll be like the light seer side and the shadow seer side. So based on if it's reversed or not, you can just read that right there, which makes me feel that this is one of the most beginner friendly decks that I have, because you can learn about reversals right away. With the Wild Unknown tarot decks, it doesn't really mention what a reversal might mean. That'd be something that you have to deduce. And that's just really the same with all of the Wild Unknowns. I feel like there's a lot of deduction that you're going to have to put into it, whereas this sums up exactly what you need to know based on the cards. And because it is a tarot card set, it is I believe, one of the perfect places to start, or just add to your collection if you are a seasoned tarot card reader. It's just a really, really wonderful deck. Let me see how much this one is. The Light Seers Tarot is $22.49, and I personally think that is well worth it. I love the compactness of this. I love the colors of it. I love what's written. I love that it takes into account reversals. I just really believe, and I just really love that the pictures on the cards, it's very, very easy. So maybe that's why people thought it was a bit basic, because it's super easy to tell what is going on in the card. But I feel like that just makes it easier for everybody. And the colors alone and the art style alone make it worth it for me. Okay, and I'm going to move on to the Everyday Witch tarot card set. This again is similar to the Wild Unknown, where I just wouldn't travel with this. It's like an extremely heavy duty tarot card set, but it does make for a wonderful gift. I really do enjoy the ones that kind of open like this. I think it's really beautiful. The book is massive for this one for some reason. And there's also, I really, really love the backs of these cards. I feel like when the backs of the cards are pretty, that like really adds to it for me, because there is, especially for doing it online like that, you're going to see the backs of the cards quite a bit. And that's why I don't like the Archetypes one as much, because it's gray, and I really do like something with a bit of color. But there's one thing I will say about this deck, if I'm going to say anything about this deck, is that this deck has an aura or like an energy to it of like an auntie or something. Like, this deck is not very nice at all. I think that if somebody needed like a wake-up call, this would be a wonderful deck to buy for yourself if you needed a wake-up call, because this deck says it extremely plainly. Everything that you're messing up in your life, tarot is kind of known for that. It's known for being... My cat is just all over this table. He feels the energy. But tarot, compared to oracle cards, are known for being quite harsh. Oracle cards are like, breathe, everything's gonna be okay. And tarot cards are like, bitch, you better get up and live your life. I saw a meme that said that, and it freaking killed me. Thought it was so funny, and definitely so true. There is a big difference between the way that oracle cards and tarot cards are written and used, and I like to use them in conjunction because of that. I don't like any of my readings to be one way or the other, super to the point and kind of rude almost, or just like too soft and kind of fawning and saying, my cat is playing with my dress. Oh my god. Oh my god. But yeah, fawning, you know, saying like, oh, you're doing just fine, babe, it's good. This deck is so the opposite of fawning. It's like, you need to get it together. It definitely gives me auntie energy. If you had a grandma or aunt in your life that passed away, I think that this will be a super good book, good deck for you to get, because I feel like it gives you a little bit of that connection to that person. Especially if they were like I said, a little bit harsh, a little bit blunt type of person. This deck has that energy. And then other than that, this Everyday Witch Tarot deck is just gorgeous. I love a painterly style, a drawn out style. I'm not so much into the decks that are made with digital art. It's just not really my thing. I do like the Archetypes deck because it almost looks like cutouts from a magazine, so I still feel like there's like an artistic side to that. But I'm not really into like photograph style ones. I really appreciate ones that have actual drawn out pictures. I think that's probably just because I do draw myself. My cat is being so funny during this reading. I love this Tower card in this. I just love that the witch looks like, yeah, I did that. I took it all down. You know, I feel like this deck has a different take on cards than typical tarot, you know, like the classic Rider-Waite, which is funny. I actually don't even own the Rider-Waite, and I never have owned the Rider-Waite. I don't feel that you have to start there. I think that you can do your own personal research on what individual card means at like the basis level. When I was first starting tarot, something I would do regularly with I started with this for over a year. I just had this. I would pair this with looking up online. My favorite website is Biddy Tarot. And I would just look up what they mean as well and see if I could notice that in the pictures of the card, or remember like, oh, numerology, 1 means the start of something, or 10 means completion. So there's different ways to remember what the cards mean, not just based on what is in the book, but also like the greater themes throughout the cards. And I do believe that this deck kind of puts the author's own spin on this, and I feel like it's really good spin. You know, like I said, the Tower card being like, I took that down on purpose. I got down to the foundation on purpose because I knew it would be best for me to start all over. And whereas the Tower can sometimes mean like everything's crashing down, and other decks that I have kind of really show that, where it's like, oh no, scary, everything's crashing down. Whereas this deck's like, no, I wanted to get back to the foundation, and I really do appreciate that. And oh, that deck is $25.91. That is definitely one of the most expensive decks that I have, but I feel like it's so heavy, it's so heavy duty. It would make for a wonderful gift to someone, and definitely a wonderful gift to yourself if you like that art style. It's definitely like a medieval. It has a cat in like every single one of the cards, which I think is so cute. I just think that Everyday Witch deck is definitely a good deck, and I would definitely recommend it, and I am super happy to have it in my collection. It definitely holds a purpose for being, you know, like the auntie that you needed. And I'm going to move on to one it's my least favorite deck. It's hard for me to say that. I spent quite a bit of money on that. I noticed that it's cheaper now. It's $21.99, the Modern Witch deck on Amazon, but I just do not really vibe with this deck at all. The reason I got it is because MW are my initials, and I was really into the art style. Like I said, I really like things that are drawn out. So I felt like it was my way of getting the rider weight, because this deck is most certainly the most like the rider weight original tarot card deck that I own, and I really do not like it. So I don't know if that's because I just like to get far away from the rider weight style, or because this particular deck is just not for me. And when I'm reviewing these, this is all my personal opinions and just my personal brief overview. So if somebody loves this deck, it's absolutely no hard feelings about that. And I'm just going to tell you some reasons why I don't like this deck, and I'll tell you some reasons why I do like it. I don't like it. Number one reason is because the cards are so hard. They are very hard to shuffle. I really like cards that have like a nice bend to them, a slickness. See how it's so hard, and they just like pop right out, and that might be a good thing, you know, that they just pop right out, because that's what you want during readings. But I don't know, they just don't feel right in my hands. They're very stiff, and there's so many of them that you can't even like shuffle them. They're like thick or something. I don't know, there's something about them, but you can't shuffle them all together. It's not like possible. You have to split it into 4 sections to even shuffle it. And the other reason I don't particularly like this deck is because the book is so small and it barely has any information. I think that would make it decent enough for a beginner, I guess, because it wouldn't overwhelm you and would just give you a brief overview. But to me, it's not enough. I feel like a beginner should be learning and diving in really deep and getting a lot of nuance. Even in the beginning, you should be understanding the nuance of cards. And sorry, there's some people having a party outside, which is really honestly sweet. So, you know, I'm not mad about it at all. If you hear people laughing and playing, enjoy the sounds. And but what I do like about this deck, this modern witch deck, is that the drawings are beautiful. I mean, that's what really drew me to it. I love the colors. I love the back. I love that it has a lot of witchcraft themes, with sword and the cup and the wands. It has my initials on it. So of course, the MW there. I was really loving this deck. My cat is literally like trying to gnaw at my tarot cards at this point. But yeah, the pictures are really beautiful. But the thing is, the pictures are beautiful to me, like on the surface. But yet again, there's just really not a lot of nuance there, just like in the book. There's not much in the background that you can read based off of. Whereas in the last deck that I showed you, the Everyday Witch deck, the backgrounds have so much detail, and you can really read into that. You can read into, like, there's a castle in the background. Let me see. Let me pull out a card. Like this one, for instance. Right there in the card, you have a map. You have a paintbrush. You have all these little extra things. And so for that reason, I would say that this modern witch deck is really good if you are like minimalist and you like a more minimalist art style, and you just don't want to be overwhelmed when you first start tarot. But I'm just warning you, I think that the cards are extremely stiff. Like, comparing it to... Oh, there's definitely some shaking now. My cat is coming after this reading. But comparing it to the Everyday Witch deck, see how I can shuffle the whole deck really fast And I know that's like kind of simple. You would think that that doesn't matter that much, but it really does matter how it feels in your hands. Like, you want to be super comfortable with the cards, and you want to enjoy like playing with them and enjoy shuffling them, and really get a feel for them. And I just don't have a personal connection to this deck anymore, but actually the reason that I keep this deck, I was considering gifting it, but I am working on my own tarot card deck. It's going to probably be years in the making. It's going to take forever, I'm sure of it. Obviously there's so much to draw and so much to write out, and then there's production after that, so don't get too excited if you think it's gonna come anytime soon. But the reason that I keep this deck is because I feel it is an extremely good reference for me to go back to for drawing my own tarot cards, because of how simple it is and because of the art style. The actual people in it is very similar to the way that I draw, so I just like to get like what they used for their body movements and things like that, for each individual card. Obviously not stealing any art, but it is nice to have some different references to look back to in my particular art style. I only have a couple tarot card decks when you compare to the amount of oracle card decks that I have. So, it's best to have as many references as possible. So that is why I hold on to that deck, but it is 100% my least favorite deck. I hate to even put that title on a deck. It's probably going to be really mad at me because, tarot cards do have their own personal energy. Just like I said, the everyday witch is like an auntie. This cat is just coming after my dress, coming after the reading, coming after my hands, coming after the light, coming after all of the books on the table. He's just not having it today. Whereas my dog is just sitting here chilling. Okay. And I'm going to move on to, let me move on to all these beautiful Herbiary, Bestiary, Crystallary. Let me move on to those. And I actually have another one. Let me get that as well. The Wild Wisdom Companion. These are all by Maya Toll. She has literally the exact same name as me. She has the exact same name as me, literally down to the way that it is spelled, M-A-I-A, Maya. And I freaking love these cards and these books. They are so beautiful. Just every single art piece and the words in it and the rituals in it. It's so unbelievably well thought out. The only kind of problem that I have with them is that the cards are stored in the back here, and there's really not many cards. But honestly, at first I was like, oh, I don't really like that. But I actually like it more than I thought I would. At first I was like, oh, that's silly. Just makes the book have this gap in it. But it's nice to just have the book and have the cards together and have it on the go. And it's not as heavy as these big box ones that I have. It's just a book, so I think it's easy to slide in a backpack. Out of all of the decks that I have, hands down, I feel these would make the best gift, 100%. They're very loving. They're just written in a way that you can actually take actionable steps to better yourself. It is not like this up in the air conceptual just thoughts and philosophy like a lot of tarot and oracle cards are, where it's you're perfect just the way you are. It's okay, but right now I'm anxious and what can I do about it, And I feel these decks have those type of answers, talking about journal prompts, talking about different daily rituals, like going to go look at the sunset, or laying down and tasting honey, and mindfulness practices, just very specific things. My favorite part about these decks has to be the covers and the way that they're shiny. I don't have any other decks that have this like glow to them, and I think personally that the art style on these is my favorite of all of the decks that I have. Yeah, including this Wild Unknown. The Wild Unknown has actually square cards. I don't know if you can see that. Let me pull out these cards. But like, just look at how freaking gorgeous these are. They're so beautiful. They're so, so beautiful. The colors in them, I like that they're kind of thin. Like I said, I prefer a nice bend. And I do like that these are square. I think that that makes them like really unique. And I just think that the colors and the pictures on these cards are unbelievably beautiful. Something I'll say about, well, this Wild Unknown deck, it comes with this season wheel. I believe that this deck is wonderful if you feel a strong connection to the shifting seasons, the shifting moon, the different times of year and different moon phases. If you feel a strong connection to that, this is the deck for you. I think it's really, really special. And if you are a witch, which I know many witches do tarot, I think that that's like part of witchcraft, and definitely something I delved into after I was researching witchcraft. I think that this makes for a wonderful companion to doing spell work, and a wonderful companion to celebrating holidays just in general. I mean, you don't have to be a witch to celebrate holidays seasonally. Obviously, a lot of people celebrate holidays, but I think that this can add in like an extra, slightly spiritual and just like a ritual to different seasons of the year. So I just really, really love this deck. And then same with these. It would just be based on the fact if you like herbs, crystals, or animals. But I was actually gifted this by my dad's wife, and I adored it so much that I literally went out and bought every single other deck that she made. And I want to get, she just came out with a book called The Night School. I definitely want to get that. But yeah, just the shine on these, the pictures, they're so beautiful. They're top tier. I have the prices for these. The Wild Wisdom is $18.49, an absolute steal. It's so good and definitely worth that price. The Bestiary is $18.99. The Herbiary is $15.99. That's a steal. I would really seriously consider getting that if you are considering different decks. I think that the Herbiary is just one of my favorites. It's where I started with getting Mayatol's different decks, and I just highly recommend if you can get it for that low price on Amazon, $15.99. It's so worth it. It would make for a wonderful gift, as I said. And the Crystallary is $17.89. I really can't sing enough praises about Mayatol's work. I hope that my decks are that good when I make them someday. I just really, really do adore them. In fact, the only complaint I think I have is that I wish there were more cards because I love them that much. But I'm going to move on to the Self-Care Oracle. What I have to say about this is that I believe that this deck is probably the perfect deck to give to somebody that does not care about spirituality, does not care about just tarot or oracle at all. Like maybe your sister, you want to get them into doing some self-care rituals or something like that. You know somebody in your life, even yourself, that doesn't take the time to actually care for themselves, you can pull one of these every day. I actually did that for a while when I felt I was spending way too much time on business. I would just take a moment every day and pull one of these cards and actually do what it said on there. But yeah, they're really beautiful. They're definitely a different art style. I really like that they have pastels in them. I think that they're one of the only decks that I have that have this kind of color theme where it's a little bit more pastel. And as you can see, it's definitely stylistically drawn. I do think that this deck is a little bit pricey. It's $18.84. I think that this deck should be about $15. I do really like it, but similar to, I feel, the Archetypes deck, I think it's supplementary. I would only pull 1 or 2 of these during a reading. I don't think that it is something that can be used for a full reading whatsoever, unless your full reading is 1 or 2 cards. But I just don't think that it's something that you would use often as a seasoned tarot card reader. You would, like I said, only use 1 or 2 per reading. If that, you probably wouldn't use it even that often. This is 100% the self-care deck, the sacred self-care deck. 100% is something that you would use personally. So, like I said, if you know somebody that really doesn't take the time to care for themselves, or you don't take the time to care for yourself, this is the perfect deck for that. It will actually slow you down and take a moment. And I think it's a good way to get into Oracle. But like I said, I feel that it's a little bit pricey for what it is. I feel like the drawings are a bit simple. And what it says on them it's pretty good. I do like the actual book that comes with the deck, but I think that it could be a little bit more in-depth. They could have gone a little bit further with it, and it's really more of a basis level. So let's say you pull something like Reiki, it's going to give you a really plain overview. You're going to want to do your own personal research with different things that you pull from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle. You're going to want to, if it says meditation, you're going to have to do more research on meditation than if you pull meditation in this. And I really do believe that this is a good deck for specific people. Okay, and moving on to the Wizard's Tarot. This actually is not my deck. This is my boyfriend's. I bought it for him. I have used it for 1 reading on my channel, but the reason that I bought it is because, first of all, my friend's roommate actually had it, and I saw the art on it, and I was like, oh my god, these are so crazy cool. They're so different than anything I've ever seen. They really reminded me of my boyfriend because he is a tattoo artist, and I feel like they have a bit of like a cartoon tattoo style. They kind of remind me of Rick and Morty, to be honest. They're really fun. I love the gold on here. And I actually read a little bit more about this deck, is that this guy actually made like a full world, and this is all like his creations from that world, and he applied it to the different cards, and I thought that was really interesting. But one thing I do have to say about this deck is that it does not come with a book, and I have a huge problem with that, to be honest. I 100% thought I would be getting a book. I mean, it's my own fault for not reading into it. I bought it for $40 on the actual website, the Wizard's Tarot website. I think it's actually called something different. But now I see that you can buy it on, I think it's Spencer's, for $14.99. That is way more reasonable of a price. For $40, I 100% thought that I was going to be getting a book with it. The good thing about the Wizard's Tarot is that they go pretty much based on the Rider-Waite. So similar to how this is highly based on the Rider-Waite original tarot cards. This is also going to be based on that, so you can use a website to help you out. But furthermore, I think that this deck 100% would help you. It's a great deck to use for a more negative part of a reading. So if you wanted to do your challenges or something like that, I pulled one of these. Or I think in my problem and solution reading, so I'll link that down below, I use this deck. And I think it was great to use for the problem because, as you can see on this card, like it definitely conveys a feeling. So like this feels like anxiety looming and nightmares. It's really easy to kind of see what's going on. So I can understand why they didn't give a book, because it is quite easy to understand what is going on in the cards. But I still wish there would have been a book, honestly, especially because he said he made like a whole world around it. I think it would have been cool to hear about what each of the creatures were, or just like his thought process behind the cards. But other than that, I mean, for $14.99 at the new price that I saw, I think that it's 100% worth it. The art is really awesome. I wouldn't necessarily say it would be best for a beginner. I think it's like a supplementary deck as well. Like I said, I would put it in a position of something that's considered negative, so a problem, something you need to get through, a difficulty you're facing, etc. Yeah, it would be a more supplemental deck, but it's still a really good deck, and I not at $40. I don't really believe it's worth that. I mean, I can't really say that because a specific person made that, and who knows, like going into production, when I make a tarot card deck at some point, it might cost a lot of money to make a tarot card deck, especially when you're doing it at a small production level and you're doing it all by yourself. So it's really no wonder that it costs that much. It's not on Amazon, so they probably weren't producing it at that level. And it's no wonder that they were able to offer it at a lower price point when they did actually pick up production at Spencer's Gifts. So I definitely think that $14.99 is a good price for the Wizard's Tarot. And I'm going to move on to the Energy Oracle cards. I really like these cards. My friend gifted me to them because she said that she wasn't really vibing with them. I really, really, really like them. I think that one of my favorite things about them is that they have so many angels in them, and I feel extremely connected to angels. I feel as though this deck, it fills in gaps in my collection. Like, tarot cards are going to be pretty similar in their themes. The Tower in the Everyday Witch is going to be different than the feeling of the Tower in the Light Seers Tarot, but they're still both the Tower, they're still both kind of the crumbling down to get to that foundation. Whereas this has yin-yang, patience, attachment. It just has different words that are like very plain and easy to see. I love this door to personal healing. And like I said, I don't typically like cards that have kind of picture or digital art style, but for some reason I really, really, really like these cards. They just have that style that I really like. It's kind of whimsical. The colors are really beautiful. See if you can see that. And I think that they're really easy to understand. The pictures kind of show like indecision. That's so plain and simple. And let's say you have a part of your reading that's like, what are you having trouble with right now? And then you pull indecision. And it's just super plain and simple. You're struggling with making a choice. And then what is in the books is really helpful and beneficial. I think it's really softly written. I really, really, really love them. I think that they are just simple. Like, I think that They would make for a wonderful first Oracle card set. I have one here that the energy Oracle cards are $19.49, and I think that is a fantastic price. Under $20, I think they would make for a wonderful gift if you or somebody you know is into this art style. They're just awesome, especially if you feel attracted to angels. If you feel a connection with angels, that is 100% the deck for you. Out of all of the decks that I have, I feel like that is a really good deck if you feel an attachment to angels. This one is called the Angels and Ancestors deck, but I don't feel as much like, if you really feel that, like the biblical sense of angels, like Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, I think you're really going to like these. Okay, and I am going to move on to this Angels and Ancestors deck. I love this deck. Yet again, the art style is so beautiful. I mean, that's what really draws me to decks, and this is very, very easy to travel with, which I love that about it. I love the backs of the cards. They're so beautiful. I really like this kind of teal blue, soft, dusty color in the owl. This deck has a very Native American type feel to me. This deck, I feel, pulls from a lot of different cultures, and that is one reason that I feel that this deck is the perfect deck to use for doing past life readings. If you want to find out more about what type of person or different themes that you experience in past lives, this is the deck for you, the Angels and Ancestors Oracle. And one thing I'll also say about this deck is that other than the Wizard's Tarot that I have here, I believe that it is the only deck that I own that is created by a man. And for some reason, I really get a masculine feel from this deck. There's just something about the colors, the muted tones. I pulled this card when I was doing one of the past life readings. I think I'll leave that link down below as well. But yeah, I definitely get a masculine feel from this deck. I do think it is from the muted tones, and obviously the person who made it is a man, so I feel it really has that energy to it, which is why I feel it would make for a wonderful gift for maybe the spiritual man or somebody that has a more masculine feel in your life, or if you feel, or if you want to get more connected to your masculine side or your past lives, different themes that you've experienced throughout many of your lives, I believe this is the deck for you. I 100% believe that this deck is beginner friendly. 100%. What's written in the book is so easy to understand. I really like that. I really like the extended messages in here. It has a simple message, a little bit more information, and then a little bit more information. So you have a lot to each card, and yet it's broken down. It's really simple to understand, and you can get a lot more out of the words in here. Like, for instance, that card that I showed, it was about living in Greece and how people in Greece got smoke readings, and that's how they did their form of divination there. And from there, I could learn so much more about what era we're in and what was going on and what type of person you are. So it's really a great jumping off point for doing past life readings. 100%. That is my go-to for if I have a past life position in a reading. I'm going to probably pick out the Angels and Ancestors deck. And yeah, I just love it. I love the art style. If you haven't noticed, there's a theme here. I really, really like decks, moving on to this next deck, that have animals as a part of them, or nature type things as a part of them. I think that it just makes for a beautiful card and a beautiful piece of art. It's the type of art that I like to create, is nature type decks. And I have this Woodland Wardens deck. It's definitely one of my cheaper ones. Oh, I forgot. The Angels and Ancestors deck is $19.79. I 100% think it's worth it. It's a great deck. And then the Woodlands Warden deck is $17.99 right now. But I actually got this on sale for, I believe, like $11.99. So this goes on sale. The art in this deck is so pretty. That's what drew me to it. Like I said, it has like a nature vibe. I really like how easy this is to travel with. So this one's super easy to travel with. The light Seers. I just like the more compact style ones. I like the backs of these cards. I like that they're just like green floral. And I love the feeling of these cards. You can kind of hear it. They have this like smoothness. There's something about these cards. They're thin. I really like the way they feel in my hands. I really like this style of art. I like that a lot of the times they'll just do like an animal's head. I like that it puts herbs and animals together. So that's what each card is like one herb. This one's the bear and the cedar. But a negative about this deck is that the book, it doesn't have that much information, I'll say. I do like that this book breaks it down, so if you get it reversed or upright, just like the Light Seers deck, it also does the reverse and upright, and I like adding in the nuance. To me, that's really important. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to read it as like the opposite or something like that. I like to know what the author was thinking when they thought of what the reversal means. But this is a deck that you're going to have to do your own deduction on. I also think that this is a deck that I wouldn't use for a full reading. I would do 1 or 2 cards out of this deck during a reading. Another one that feels very supplemental to me, and I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a beginner-friendly deck because, like I said, to me, beginner-friendly is something that almost over-explains. I think in the beginning you really do want to be trying to understand what each card means and getting the actual extra information so that you can take that along with you to other decks and get the symbolism from different decks. Like with the Archetype one in the book, it has so much extra little symbolism and little things like that, but it's almost overwhelming. So it's on like the other end of the spectrum where it's like telling you so much information and you might not understand a lot of it. This one tells you a pretty small amount of information in the book, and I think that it's almost too little, and you'd probably want to go with a different Oracle card deck before. I'd probably go with this, the Angels and Ancestors one, over the Woodland Wardens one, but honestly, it's preference and art style. It's what you need it for. This one feels very like casual to me. I don't know. I just don't think that you need to be like an extremely spiritual person to get what's in this book. If you're a more logical minded person, instead of kind of like in the air, magic is everywhere type person, this actually might be the deck for you. I am still really glad I got it, and I do believe that getting it for on sale for $11.99 is super worth it. I mean, the art alone is worth that to me. One thing I do really like about this deck is that it tells you kind of the symbolism of different plants and different animals in different cultures, and it gives you actual like history. And I think that is so cool. Like, yeah, I want to learn something when I'm pulling my cards. It's super fascinating. Actually, the Herbiary and all of the other ones by Maya Toll also do that, where they kind of tell a story about the actual animal. It's just, these ones are like way more in depth, but it still is nice. Like if you want to do a really quick Oracle reading, this would be a great deck to use. Okay, and the Eternal Crystals Oracle cards, I was actually gifted these by my friend after the house fire that I went through. She sent these to me in like a little gift set, and I think they are so, so, so beautiful. I really love these. I think one of the reasons that I really, really, really love these is because they have crystals in here that I just don't know about. Like fuchsite, I know nothing about that. I feel like I learn something about crystals every single time I pull out of this deck. Whereas the Crystallary from Maya Toll, I feel like uses kind of the more standard crystals. This has some just crystals that I've absolutely never heard of in it. It really breaks down the meanings behind the crystals and can be applied to like any situation. I think that this would be a wonderful gift for yourself or anybody else that really, really, really loves crystals. I think it makes for a great beginner deck. I really like what is written in these cards. They're quite simple. I like that they give associations having to do with each crystal. If you love crystals, this is the deck for you. If you don't have any tarot cards and you love crystals, I would just go ahead and buy this deck. It's really, really, really nice. I think something fun about it is that if you don't know what type of crystal that you want to buy and you want to do some work like meditating with crystals, then you could buy this deck and then pull a crystal and see which one you want to buy. And it might tell you some things about how to use it and what it's associated with, like different chakras. And you could do a meditation with that particular crystal if you find it online or in a local metaphysical store. But I think that would be a really cool way to use this deck if you have a crystal collection and you want to keep growing your crystal collection. And I think that this could be a really personal oracle card deck where you pick out a crystal for the day and maybe you want to go shopping and buy a crystal and you actually buy the crystal that you pulled that day. I think it would be a really special experience. Yeah, I definitely think this is a really personal deck. I definitely use it in different tarot card readings, but I feel it probably would be best used if you just pulled one daily. I think it's just really just a standard, really good deck. I don't really think that there's anything negative I could say about it. I mean, I do enjoy a more like artistic style, like, you know, drawn out. But when it comes to crystals, it's nice to have the actual photo of the crystals and have like almost like an aura. I love the back of these, having this like forest green color. And yeah, it's just like, it has a picture of the crystal and then it's more kind of an artistic style. And I love that. I think it can teach you a lot about crystals if you're interested in learning more about crystals. So yeah, I think it's for specific people. Definitely you have to love crystals to want that deck. But I love crystals, so it's honestly a really good deck for me, and I'm super glad that my friend got it for me. I love that it's part of my collection. And I will tell you how much that is. The Eternal Crystal deck is $23.95. And yeah, I'm just super grateful that my friend got that for me. I love it. And saving some of the best for last here, we have the Alana Fairchild. We have the Lightworker Oracle by Alana Fairchild. I would recommend literally anything made by Alana Fairchild. I really, really, really love her books and her art style. Straight off the bat, one thing that I feel super negative about her cards is that I feel that she uses way too many white people. I feel like almost every single person you can see that I've pulled so far is white. And I don't enjoy that about her decks. I love what she says in her decks. I do like the art style, but I really, really prefer a deck like Angels and Ancestors. Has tons of different types of cultures in it. The Modern Witch has tons of different types of cultures in it. The Light Seers Oracle, so many different types of people in there. And I just don't see that at all. Literally every single person is white. And I just feel like, let's say that I want to do a reading like, what will your significant other look like? I don't want every single person to be white. Like, every person in the world isn't white. So that is quite upsetting to me, I will say, about this deck. It's definitely something that I don't want to do whenever I make my own tarot card deck. There definitely should be representation. I think she should have thought about that. And I feel like I'm really coming down hard on her. I feel bad for saying that because I really, really, really love this deck. It's one of my most used decks. I love anything that's like light Seers, light worker, anything like that, because I do choose to try to see the positive in life, and I try to bring light to those around me. But yeah, it definitely rubs me the wrong way that it seems like they're all, you know, the same race. I definitely don't enjoy that. But the actual cards themselves, what they say: unplug from mass consciousness, past life activation. It fills in gaps that I just don't have. Dark Angel, it's like Dark Night of the Soul. Earth healing. It has certain things in it that are just not in any of my other decks whatsoever. It definitely has subjects that are not in tarot card decks at all. And I think the best part about it is what's in the book is so beautiful. They're very, very long. I will say that. The prayers are so special. They can really move me to my core. But I will say that I feel as though they could have been shorter. Like, she repeats herself a lot, but it doesn't matter to me because the message is so beautiful and so special that I feel like it's okay to repeat yourself a little bit. You really want people to get the message. I really love the backs of these cards. I didn't say that at first, but I love the little glowing blue and purple. And yeah, they're just super beautiful. They have like a space theme a bit and like a very ethereal, angelic look and feel to them. And I believe that she painted all of them. Alana Fairchild also has just quite a few decks. I actually bought her, I can't remember what it's called, the Rebels deck that she made for my friend. I don't have it for myself. It's kind of funny, her name is Alana Fairchild, and she literally made, like, every freaking person white. So maybe she just, like, only has white people around her, but that literally does not matter to me. You know that there's more than white people in this freaking world, so, like, you should definitely paint them if you're going to have a full deck of paintings. I'm just gonna give her a slide. I'm gonna give her a pass, even though I really don't want to, because her writing is so beautiful and her paintings are quite beautiful. I will say that. I think it's worth it for what it says in the book. They have literally moved me to my core, like made me cry. What she says really aligns with my truth. And the Lightworker Oracle is $25.95. I think that's a bit pricey. I think I understand why it is that way. I mean, she did paint these, I believe, all of them. So it's like you're paying for art, you're paying for her words. But I think that I would understand that price point a little bit more if she would have included a bunch of different cultures and different ethnicities in those. I think it's a decent place to start. I do feel that she over-explains, so it might be a little bit confusing. If you know nothing about spirituality, you might be a little bit lost by her words. If you know a lot about spirituality and maybe even already have an oracle card deck, you have a tarot card deck, you might consider yourself somebody that likes to spread light and spread positivity in life, then yeah, you would really love that deck. I think you would really enjoy it. It's definitely something that I would recommend. Yeah, like, it could be your first oracle card deck, but I would say that you probably should already know a little something about spirituality if you are going to purchase this. And finally, last but definitely not least, I love this deck. This is the Medicine Woman Inner Guidebook, and somebody actually gave this to me when I was at a festival grounds. They gave me this little tarot card box. This did not come with it. One thing I will say about this deck is that if you just get the deck itself, all it comes with is this tiny little book, and it doesn't really have that much information. It has a couple like readings and like ways you can do readings, but it doesn't actually tell you about each individual card. To me, I believe that you most certainly should buy the book, the separate book, which makes it, here we go. The Medicine Woman Tarot deck is $17.31 and the guidebook is $11.69. That makes it quite expensive. It makes it the most expensive one that I have, except for this one was originally $40, so that would be the most expensive one that I have, but it does make it quite expensive. I'm lucky enough to have found this deck at Half Price Books. That's one thing I'll say, is that if you are looking for a deck, I definitely recommend going to Half Price Books. You might find one that just jumps out at you. I think that it's important to go based off of art style, because you really want to love the way it looks. I feel like I'm like Men's Warehouse. Love the way you look. I guarantee it. But you really want to love the way that your tarot cards look. You want to be attracted to the art style. You want to like the way that they feel. It is nice to go to Half Price Books because you actually might be able to take them out if they're not wrapped up and actually feel the deck. I love the art style of this. I could definitely see how it wouldn't be for everyone. Definitely gives me kind of like a 70s feel or something about it. It feels kind of like vintage. Really, 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 really love these cards. I love the symbolism. 5 of Arrows popped out. I do like the back of them. It's not my favorite, but I think that it definitely gets the message across. These also have definitely like a Native American feel. Like the angels and ancestors have a native, not even just Native American, but just a native feel. And this being a medicine woman, it also has a similar feel. This has to be one of my favorite decks. I really did save like one of the best for last. This deck pretty much came to me. I got a reading with it on YouTube. I saw somebody else read it and I was immediately drawn to it. And then I saw it in Half Price Books and I was like, okay, I have to have that. And I noticed that it didn't have a book, so I looked it up. And then I saw that the book was $11.69 and I got these for like $5, so that made it $16.69. I got the deck at Half Price Books and oh my god, I just love these. I love what the book says. Like, you have to have the book if you're going to get this deck. I think it's for specific people. I definitely would say if you're a spiritual person, like extremely spiritual person, this would be a great first tarot card set. It is so well written. It really gives you rituals. It really gives you ways to actually do things to better your life. It is gentle yet firm. It's just really, really amazing. Some of the cards have so much information in them, whereas the Lightworker Oracle has like so much information in it, and they're really beautiful. I feel like this has so much information in it. It doesn't repeat itself at all. It just is just constant flow of like beautiful poetry, and yeah, it's just very, very well written and 100% worth the money. Even at full price, I feel it is 100% worth the money. I definitely would consider this beginner friendly. Anybody watching this, you want to get your first deck and you like this art style, I would recommend it. I 100% would recommend it. I also would recommend just kind of searching around yourself. These are just the art styles that I like. Like I said, I like more drawn out type style of artwork. If you like photographs, digital art, if you like something completely different than me, then you're going to, do some searching on your own. I just wanted to show off the decks that I have and just give a brief overview. If you were trying to figure out what type of deck that you wanted to buy for yourself or someone else, thought maybe this would be a useful video for you. And just tell you a little bit more about tarot cards and how each one of them have their own nuance, tarot and oracle. They all have their own specific energy and their own uses. And I even feel I still have gaps in my decks. I definitely want to get more. I'd like to get maybe something having to do specifically with lunar phases, because I have herbs and crystals and animals, but I don't really have ones that are like specific for the moon cycle, and ones like that are more focused on astrology and times of the year. I do have that Wild Wisdom one, which does kind of focus on times of the year, but I think I'd like to get one that's a little bit more specific. And I feel also that I'd love to get another one that's kind of like this, where it has like very specific people and cultural references. It's super useful for doing past life readings, and I just really, really enjoy that deck. So I'd love to get one that's similar to it. If Kyle Gray ever makes another deck, I 100% will buy it. I have to check that if he has any other ones. Really love that. And yeah, that's everything. That's all of the decks that I have, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it's totally different than my other videos that I do, where just have my hands. All you see is my hands, so you get to see me and actually see me chatting here on the couch. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it gave you a little bit of information if you were looking to buy a deck. And I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. I'm going to leave a couple videos linked down below, as well as my Amazon wish list if you want to get me one of those decks I talked about that are like astrology or moon phase. I actually have my Amazon wish list down below, so you can purchase me a deck. They're typically, you can see on as I listed, they're around $20. That's like what they are. That's like pretty standard for purchasing on Amazon. Whereas if you purchase from somebody directly that had to make it themselves, or on Etsy, it's going to be more like $40 to $60 because they had to go into production themselves. If anybody ever does decide to get me something off of my Amazon wish list, that would be the coolest thing ever. That would make my freaking day. The reason that I put an Amazon wish list is because after the fire, multiple people asked me to make an Amazon wish list. And at this point, I honestly just live a super minimalistic lifestyle, and I really don't need that much. But I always use tarot cards for my work, and I use tarot cards for these videos, and I use them for different clients and things like that. So if somebody were to purchase one of the decks on my wish list, then I would be using it for these YouTube videos. It's not necessary, I'm just throwing it out there, but I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you were wanting to learn a little bit more about how tarot card decks and oracle decks differ. And if anybody's interested in more videos that are this style, where I kind of just talk, yeah, if I could do a video about how to read tarot cards, so if anybody's interested in that, definitely feel free to comment. If there's any other video ideas that you have, feel free to comment, and I would love to do some more videos where I'm just like sitting and chatting and talking about tarot cards, or really anything at all. So if there's something else, like I make perfume and jewelry as well, so if anybody's interested in learning more about that, I would love to sit down and actually do a video about those things as well. So definitely feel free to comment down below what you would be interested in seeing from me going forward. And that is everything I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you all soon. I love you very much. Bye, everybody.